In this video, I'm going to work through 3 practice problems that are just taken from the back of Chapter 2. I'm going to start with E2.4. From the following information for the year 2012, prepare an income statement, statement of stockholders' equity, and calculate comprehensive income and net payout based on this information. Let's start with the income statement. All the information that we need for the income statement is here, plus additional information. We just need to put it into the proper order and also be sure to only include that information that would be reported on the income statement. I'm going to start with sales, 4458. From that, I want to subtract out cost of goods sold, 3348, and find my gross profit. $1110. All right, accounted for my sales, my cost of goods sold. Next, I want to account for my selling expenses and thinking about those operating expenses. Oops, sorry about that. Selling expenses are $1230. This is not looking good for this company here. I see their selling expenses are greater than their gross profit. And we haven't finished accounting for their expenses. We have R&D expenses of $450. Sorry, still trying to get used to this pen. This is going to give me my operating income. Let's see here. It's $1230 minus $450. Operating income is a loss of $570. The last thing that we need to account for is our income taxes. Income tax, we can see that these expenses are shown as positive, so if I see income tax expense shown as negative, this means an income tax benefit. That's because our operating income is negative. We will offset that loss by an income tax benefit of $200. For final net income, which is a loss of $370. I could say loss is shown in parentheses. All right, next I want to put together the statement of stockholders' equity. I'm going to start with my beginning equity. Let's see here. Beginning equity is 3270. From that, I need to add my net income, or subtract, I guess I should say, subtract my net loss. Stockholders' equity will also include this item here, the unrealized gain on securities available for sale. This is an item of other comprehensive income. And other comprehensive income, if you remember, that goes to an account called accumulated other comprehensive income, which is a part of stockholders' equity. So I'm going to add my OCI, gain of 76. What else do we have here that affected stockholders' equity? We have dividends of $140 that were paid. Subtract out those dividends. And also looks like the company issued 680 of shares. Add that in, shares issued. This should get me my ending stockholders' equity that would be reported on the 12/31/2012 balance sheet and statement of stockholders' equity. All right, so 3270 minus 370 plus 76 minus 140 plus 680. Ending stockholders' equity 3516. We were asked to calculate comprehensive income. Comprehensive income is nothing more than the company's net income, which is actually the loss of $370 plus other comprehensive income of $76. Comprehensive income, we can see here, is a loss of $294. Oops. Sorry about that. Loss of $294. And finally, to finish up this question, we are asked to solve for the net payout. Remember that net payout includes your dividends, share repurchases, and share issues. Dividends are a payout, so dividends can be shown as negative $140. Share repurchases, we don't see any information here about any treasury stock or share buybacks, but we do see share issues of $680. And so this is a net, it's a net payout. It's not actually a payout of $540, but this is actually a net increase. All right, next problem, E2.7, using accounting relations to check errors. Again, we're given some information related to the financial statements. Here we have some income statement data, other comprehensive income, assets, liabilities, dividends, share issues, share buybacks, beginning stockholders' equity. And we are told that at least one of these numbers must be wrong because it does not obey accounting relations. I'm going to work this problem in Excel since I need to use this data here to calculate net income, comprehensive income, total stockholders' equity at the end of the year. So I'll copy this data here into Excel. I'm going to format this data as I need it. Revenues, expenses, difference between those is going to be my net income. Add OCI to get my comprehensive income. Revenues $2,300, expenses including taxes $1,750. So my net income is the difference here. Other comprehensive income, we're told, is a loss of $90. So my comprehensive income for the period is $460. I have total assets of $4340. Total liabilities of $1380. And I can use my information about the accounting equation to solve for the total stockholders' equity. Solving for as much of the financial information as we can, knowing that the problem tells us at least one of these numbers must be wrong because it doesn't obey the accounting relations. All right, so I've just solved for stockholders' equity as $2960. Let's also look at stockholders' equity as would be reported on the statement of stockholders' equity. We have our beginning stockholders' equity. That is given to us as $19,140. From that, what the statement of stockholders' equity would show is an addition with net income. Net income is here. It would report our other comprehensive income. Clearly, you could just show one line here for the other comprehensive income. What else affects stockholders' equity for the period? Well, the company issued shares worth $900,000, so let's add that. The company paid out dividends of $400,000. And the company had share repurchases of 150, so we need to subtract the repurchases. These are the treasury stock or stock buybacks. Now, those are all the items that affected statement of stockholders' equity. So our ending stockholders' equity balance should be the sum of all these items here. And here is the problem. When we look at what the statement of stockholders' equity would report, we would see an ending stockholders' equity balance of $19,950. But when we use our total assets minus total liabilities, we see our total stockholders' equity is $29,660. That's how we know that one of the numbers is wrong. We don't know which one, but we can tell that one of the numbers must be wrong. Let's move along to our last problem, E2-10. Again, we're using our knowledge of the accounting relationships to try to find some information. We are given pieces of Genentech's 2004 income statement. I actually didn't ask you anything about the cash flow statement. There was some cash flow data here on this problem, but I edited that out. It was much too complicated for the amount of information they were looking to get from it. So I have the income statement and then just some very, very basic information from the balance sheet down here. Let's start with A. A asks us to calculate the revenues. Well, if we know that the expenses are here and the income tax expense as well, what we can do is back into what our revenues must be. We would say revenues of some number minus our total expenses equals net income. And if we just put in our net income number here, 784.8, and we add up all of our expenses here, add up all these expenses, we should get 3836.4. And if we do this calculation here, we should find that our net income is 4621.2. Next, we are asked to solve for earnings before interest and taxes. This is another way of asking for operating income. So what is not operating income? Revenues minus operating expenses. Remember, these will include cost of goods sold. Gives you your operating income. From operating income, if you subtract out interest expense and income tax expense, you'll then get net income. So what do we know here? We solved for our revenues. 4621. Sorry about that. We solved for our revenues of 4621.2. We know our total expenses. What we want to do is get to simply just our operating expenses. That will get us to our operating income. Our net income, we know, is 784.8. We know what our income tax expense is. We see it here. 434.6. We know what our interest expense is actually interest income. So this, where firms will typically subtract out interest expense, this company actually earned more interest income on its investments than it paid off in interest expense on its debt. So we are going to add 82.6. So actually we didn't even need our revenues number here. We can just say some operating income number X plus 82.6 minus 434.6 gives us 784.8. We can solve for this number X and we get 1 136.8. That's our answer to part B. We skipped part C related to the statement of cash flows. It was a pretty basic question, but it looked much more complicated in the book than it needed to be. So let's skip down to part D. This is fairly straightforward. We're given current assets, total assets, long-term liabilities, and stockholders' equity, and we're asked to calculate long-term assets and short-term liabilities. So long-term assets is simply the total assets minus those current assets. Long-term assets must be 5980.6. Short-term liabilities, we're going to solve for similarly. Short-term liabilities is our total liabilities minus total long-term liabilities. We are given these long-term liabilities of 1377.9, and we look for our total liabilities and we see that we're not given that information. But we can easily solve for our total liabilities by saying this must be equal to total assets minus total stockholders' equity. Total assets, 9403.4. Total stockholders' equity, 6782.2. So total liabilities are 2621.2. And so if we take this 2621.2 and subtract this long-term liabilities of 1377.9, we get our total short-term liabilities of 1243.3.